friends, and welcome to the Go and Tell podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Greci. The Go and Tell podcast is a place where we chat all the things from life, motherhood, Jesus, food, health and wellness, and so much more. So grab a hot cup of coffee, kick back, and relax with us. I hope that you find joy, laughter, and encouragement today and every day. Thanks for being here. Hey friends, and welcome to the Lifestyle with Lauren podcast. I am so glad that you're here today to talk and listen to my conversation with my cousin, Deidra. So Deidra, welcome.
Hey.
Okay, if you could just take a moment, introduce yourself to all of the listeners.
Hi, I am Deidra McLaughlin. I am 30. Yeah, the big 30 finally, which is crazy to me. Anyways, remember when I thought 30 was old?
Yeah. As I'm knocking on 40.
Listen, if I look half as good as you as
girl.
I'm coming up to 40, I'm okay with that. Let's see. I live in Westphalia, Texas. I actually grew up here, was born here, grew up here, moved away for college for a few years, but came back because I'm a homebody. I'm a mom. I've got 4 kids. Been married almost coming up on 9 years now. I work at the local hospital here in Temple, Texas as a medical photographer / videographer. I recently, within the last couple years, dabbled here and there with my own side business, Shop on the Hill, right now just making some handmade earrings, starting slow, have big plans, but that's
yes,
that's to come.
And so for people that are watching, are those earrings yours?
Yes, they are.
Yes, they're beautiful. Oh, I love those. Okay, well, tell us quickly too about your kids, because not only are you 30 with 4 kids, but you had a pair of twins in there too.
Yes. Got married in November, was pregnant by January, and found out we were having twins, not identical, thank goodness. So they were apparently, that's one of the better things, I guess, or, doesn't make it such a high risk. Anyways, 2 boys, they're 7 now. So they're in first grade. I have a 2-year-old, 2.5-year-old, and then now I have a 6-month-old. And all of my children were born in the month of September.
So it's a big birthday month.
Like New Year's Eve. Woohoo. Anyways.
Right. Yeah. So we know what's going on in that household.
Yeah. I told my mom I was pregnant with this last one and that it was due in September. And she's like, we're not celebrating New Year's anymore.
No more. I love it. Gosh, I can't believe your twins are 7 already.
Yeah, that makes 2 of us.
I know. My goodness. So what was twin life like too at the very beginning as a new mom? Not only are you a new mom, but now you're a new mom with twins.
And I'm so thankful that I had them right off the bat because, oh my goodness, having now, like, fast forward 7 years, having a 2-year-old and a newborn, I'm like, oh no, I would much rather have them 2 at a time, get it over with. It was hard, but I had a lot of help. At that time, my mom had just retired, like within the last year. So it like timed out perfectly. Yeah. So she basically lived with us for like at least 6 months.
Nice.
Probably more than that. It's kind of a blur, but
I'm sure.
Yeah, it was definitely it was interesting. But like I said, it was a blur. Time goes by so fast. I feel like I don't even remember them, how old Cora is now. I'm like, if it wasn't for photos or videos, the technology we have now that I can see those memories pop up.
Right.
Yeah, I'd be like, what happened?
Yeah. Well, and you were young too. You were 22, 23, roughly?
Yes. I had them, not even a month after I turned 23. So yeah.
So let's talk about the difference too of having babies at 22, 23 versus 29, 30.
It's not nice, at least not for me, and that's my own fault. That's my own fault. I don't stay on top of the workout routines like I should, but yeah, no, this one did me in. It's just different. I don't know, but like I said, that was probably my own fault for the most part, but I'll get there again someday. But I know I have come to the realization and accepted that I will never be where I was. And that's okay.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and we have to give ourselves grace too. Like, you have birthed 4 children, like you have grown 4 babies in your body. And of course, it's not going to look like it ever did whenever you were,
Yeah,
in
that's
your
true. I
teens and
know.
early
Yeah.
20s. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I'm sure at least for me, I've noticed as the time was going on too, like, one, being pregnant seemed a lot harder with getting older. I only have 2, but still that 3.5 year difference from the first to the second made a
Oh
huge difference.
yeah.
But then you're also exhausted because you have other children that you're also trying to raise and keep up with too.
Yes.
So I
Yeah.
don't
So
know.
I don't know what's
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like the chicken and the egg. Which one is it? Is it because
Yep.
I'm older, or is it because I'm exhausted chasing after a toddler?
Yep.
And this was your little girl too.
Yes. God completely surprised us with a girl. She ruined my hormones too. So if I cried during this, I apologize, because Lord have mercy, I used to not cry. And this
Yes.
child with the extra hormones gave them all to me. So anyways, he completely
I
surprised
love it.
us with her. Like, yeah, she was
Oh,
not
I love
supposed
it.
to.
Oh,
Not by
I
mine.
love it.
Anyways.
Yeah.
But yes, we are very, very grateful for her. She's the best baby ever.
Oh, that's so good. Are the boys just all over her too?
Oh, they love her.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
It
so
took
sweet.
Rowan a little bit. I mean, 2-year-old.
Yes.
He was like, and he's still where I'm like, we don't leave him,
Yes.
alone
Uh-huh.
for too long. But yeah, it took him a while, but he's come around.
Hmm. Okay, so that made me think of a question. With 4 kids, and it's still, you got the 7-year-olds, but then you also have like the baby toddlers. What is one event, something that happened that you remember vividly, that was just like a startling moment with your kids, like something that they did, like, drawing on the wall or something? Like, is there something
Oh,
that just makes you go, oh my gosh, like
um,
only mom life?
yeah. So, well, listen, to my defense, I was not home when this happened. So I'll say that.
There you go. There you go.
I'll go ahead and throw my husband under the bus, but I think I went and grocery shopped. And this is just when we had the twins. I was grocery shopping or something. I don't even know. I came home and the keyboard to my Mac desktop computer was completely Sharpied over. I mean, it's still to this day, I think it's pretty solid. I mean, just Sharpied all over. It was on the desktop screen and like everything. Most of it came off with a magic eraser, thank God.
Uh-huh.
But John was like, "You're a kid." I was like, "Really? Are we going to blame the child?" I mean, they're probably like 4 at this point. Like,
Uh-huh.
no. And that was just one. I'm pretty sure there's a line of, the return address stamps that you use for your
Hmm.
Christmas. Yeah, a line down my hallway right now still from one of them. I don't know which one did it, but that happens not under my watch either.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. I just, and those things, honestly, I laughed. I thought it was hilarious.
So you grew up in most of your life in Westphalia. So let's kind of explain where that is to people listening.
So Westphalia, Texas is a very small, first of all, community. I don't even know how many people are here. I couldn't tell you, but we have a blinking light, not even a real traffic light. Anyways, but it's a very strong Catholic community, Catholic Christian community. Is that the right way to say that, I guess? So yeah, with a church that formerly was here for 125 years. It burned down
I know.
year before last. But yeah, super strong, devout Catholic community.
Yeah. So then what was that like for you as a child growing up in this community? What was your testimony like? Like, when did you feel kind of moved and accept Christ? And what has your journey been like?
Well, as some people will probably be familiar with, in Catholicism, you're baptized at birth, typically, and then you have all these sacraments that you go through, and, they're moments of grace that we consider. And anyways, we won't go into the whole spiel of that. But anyway, so I was raised in that, church every Sunday, being raised as a Catholic girl, and it wasn't, so I always knew God, right? And
Hmm.
knew Jesus and knew all about that. I started college at the University of Mary Hardin Baylor in Belton. And it really wasn't until then where I was more involved with just Christian based events and, whatever. I'm looking for a word, but I cannot find it. Anyways, it wasn't until then that I wouldn't say I came to know God, but I came to know him on a different level, I guess. A more personal relationship with him, and it was just different. And don't get me wrong, like I was very thankful that I had the upbringing that I did, because it had me in church, and I'm very grateful for that. And we still attend the same church that I grew up in, and we're raising our kids as Catholic, children or whatever. But it just, when I got to college, and I'd really pay apart to my college roommates, really, because they were just a good group of girls that I had never imagined myself being, first of all, meeting or being around. But anyways, so it wasn't until then that I really had a more deeper level, like personal relationship with them. And yeah, it's hard to explain.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And that's kind of, when you think of what Jesus wants from us too, it is that relational experience. Like that is who he is. And I think that's incredible that you found that too. What do you think, was there like a pivotal moment, or was it kind of like the slow progress?
It was more like a slow progress. I was so used to what I was raised in. To go to this college where they would have, worship like sessions and Bible studies, we heard the Bible every Sunday, right. But I had never been involved in that kind of stuff, that intimately, I guess.
Yeah.
And so it was more like a slow transition, realization kind of thing. It wasn't ever just one huge moment. I do remember what was it called? They had it every Wednesday night. It was some service. I should have made notes. Anyways, Focus. It was called Focus, I think. Okay. Anyways.
It's funny that was the name of the word.
I know. I'm like, oh man, the story of my life. Let me tell you something. But they would like start and end with worship music and all this stuff. And I do remember a couple of vivid moments where, I was just like convicted of everything that I had ever done. Yes. Even though I had asked for forgiveness for it, all my life, it just kind of hit me in a different way, I guess.
Yeah.
So I do remember that, and I remember realizing, there's more to this than just going to church on Sundays.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I still fail daily, and whatever, but I think the realization of that has helped my heart.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, there is definitely, it's amazing how music can move me. In church, I fight tears because the songs are just like, they just hit your core. But that's what the Bible says too. Jesus says, worship me with cymbals, with tambourines, with dance, with song. Like we are to worship, hands up, proud and loud, and worship him, because that's what he likes. He likes the sound of music and worship. And music is my place. I love me some Christian music for sure.
I can't tell you how long it took me to be brave enough to like hold my hands up in praise.
Absolutely. Forever. Same here. I would start here. If people are watching on, YouTube, my hands would be down at my hips open, and then they would kind of slowly go here. I think there's like a meme about that, about like the different types of Christians, depending on where you put your hands.
Probably so.
Yeah. Today I was proud and loud. I had my arms straight up, straight out, and
good.
I had to close my eyes a couple of times, because it's everything I think in me that feels like, and it's the devil that is putting those thoughts in your head, but it feels like if I put my hands up, people are going to judge me. If I put my hands up, people are going to think this or that about me. And that's all the devil just working in our brain, because he wants to mess with us and he wants to keep us from worshiping. So I have to fight that, because nobody in church is doing that. They're not sitting there judging me for putting my hands up. They're joining me. They're doing it too. You know, it's funny. Yeah. Okay. So, and then your church burned down. You mentioned that. I mean, how is the community doing with that? Because this is like, when you say that this is like a one town blinking light town, this is like everybody goes to this church, you go to school,
Yeah.
like through the church,
Everybody
everything.
knows everybody. Yeah, the kind where we have an annual picnic that everyone works at together, that
Yeah.
kind of, it was devastating. It was awful. And it went down so fast, obviously. It was an old wooden church,
Mhm. It's
but
a beautiful church too.
for it to make it 125 years though, I was like,
Yeah.
that's impressive considering how fast it went down.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we're coming up on 2 years in July that happened. And they just broke ground, and I think poured some slab this week. So
Okay.
we're getting things going, and they're kind of keeping in the same aesthetic and feel of the old church, but obviously
Okay.
built a little more
Yeah. Resilient. They like
so,
fireproof the whole thing.
yeah, and hopefully more than one bathroom, but we'll see.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. And so many of the family, you were married at that church too, right?
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, my mom and dad were married there, and I don't know that their parents were married there because they came from different communities, but
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, a lot of people's families around here for generations have married or baptized or, whatever, all the
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, man.
So,
Where have y'all been gathering then with the church being gone?
in our parish hall.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
It'll be poor Rowan, the 2-year-old. He's just
oh
gonna
yeah.
be like a rude awakening when it comes time to like sit in an actual like pew, because we're
Uh-huh.
like spaced out because of COVID, right? So
Right.
we basically take up almost the entire hall with chairs, just little rows of chairs here and there, spaced
Yeah.
apart or whatever. So yeah, we're ready to be out of there.
Yeah, back in a church.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But it is a good remembrance too that church is just a building. It
Yeah,
is
for
the
sure.
people who gather, and that's the reason why we go to church. It's for a community, because
Yes.
God meets us anywhere. We don't have to
Yeah.
physically have a building to do that, but it's nice to have a building because it brings community.
Yeah.
So okay, so then your childhood, let's talk about that for a second. You had a pretty traumatic event, I think, that happened when you were relatively young. And I'm kind of curious how you were able to walk through this. And this must have been a big turning point too in your faith and in your family's faith. But you lost your brother at a very young age, and he was very, very young too.
He was 19. I had just turned 11 the month before. Yeah, I was so young, but I was old enough to understand.
Mhm.
Obviously, I was 11, and girls were more mature than boys are, right?
Yes.
um, yeah, parts of that are a blur, and then other parts are not at all, right? I
Mhm.
mean, I have very specific memories with him and of that day, and even afterward, and it definitely, as far as my faith goes, that's where I kind of am so thankful that I was raised the way I was in a church and in a devout family that prioritized that, and made that known to me as a kid too, because we will see him someday again.
Mhm.
And if I didn't have that hope that we get to be with all our loved ones again, with Jesus, someday, it would have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
But it definitely helped strengthen me, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
um yeah, it's hard to explain because it's going on 20 years this year.
Gosh.
And
Yeah. And what can you explain to everyone what happened?
yeah, so my brother was 19. He was so I was 11, so he was a good eight and a half years older than me. He was first year of college or second, I don't know, somewhere in there. He graduated in 2000, so this was 2001 of fall. So yeah, he had been in college for a little bit. Anyways, but he was back home. It was September, and he was a very good kid. Of course, I knew him as my big brother, right?
Mhm.
Messing around in the house and picking on me and whatever.
Yeah.
But according to all his friends and everything, all the stories that we've heard ever since, he was a good leader of all his friends, and a kind heart, and just a good dude. And he was, I think, at a party or something, which, take that as you will. He was 19.
Yeah.
But he had actually drove one of his buddies home because his buddy was not going to be able to make it home on his own.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the process of that, on his way after that, he fell asleep at the wheel and went over a bridge. And thankfully he didn't suffer or anything. But yeah, it was just one Sunday. Well, that happened early Sunday morning because he didn't go to church. And that's what kind of struck all of us as, okay, well, he didn't go to church, he's not in the field helping dad, well, where is he, and anyways. But yeah, I'm proud of him for bringing his friend home. That, I think, spoke volumes on even just his character. He didn't have to do that. But yeah, so I mean, it's just all of a sudden your life can change so fast.
Right.
And sometimes I forget that, because I mean, I've suffered loss since then, my grandparents or whatever. Sometimes you forget how fast something can happen. You get caught up in the daily buzz of life, and you just, think, oh, well, we'll see them next month, or we'll do this later, or, whatever, even the small things. But we're not promised tomorrow at all. And sometimes it's very hard to remember that. Sometimes I have to hone it back in and be like, okay,
Yeah, so. Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that and sharing his story as well. And I think you're right. That absolutely shows his character, and especially hearing everything that his friends would say about him, that seems very in line with who he was and how he would take care of other people before that he would, take care of himself. So, and then you have other siblings as well. You have a sister.
I do. I am actually the youngest of 5. I was the happy accident.
The happy accident.
That's what I tell myself anyways. Oh, there's a side story. Don't let me forget something about that. Anyways, I have my oldest brother is 19 years older than me, and the one after him is about 18 years older than me, and then my sister's 13. Yep. So yeah.
So you are the baby.
I am the baby.
And you're pretty close to everybody. I mean, because and Vanessa, does you don't get to see her often, but y'all are still pretty close, right?
Oh yeah, we talk at least on a weekly basis, I would say. But yeah, my 2 brothers are local. Craig's got 5 boys, and the oldest is already married, and the youngest is about to go to high school. Like, it's just crazy. And then Chad doesn't have any kids, but they're local still too, him and Karen. And then Vanessa is now in Utah. They actually came home for my oldest nephew's wedding in December, so that was really good because I hadn't seen her face to face in 4 years, just because life. And I mean, plane tickets aren't cheap, especially when you've got kids.
Yes.
Like, do we just not have to pay for a ticket until they're like 5? Can we make that a law?
Oh, I know.
7-year-olds can sit on my lap. It's okay. Anyways, but yeah, I mean, we FaceTime all the time, and all that stuff. But yeah, so it was really good to hug her neck.
Oh, but, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me more. I want you to expand on that happy accident. You said you had a story.
Oh, it kind of going back to my Cora, when I got pregnant with her. Like I said, she was not in mine or John's plans at all. Like, we were done. We have a good size house, but we are maxed out.
Yes.
As you can probably see, there's a playpen over there where she sleeps. Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, we're like maxed out here, right? I mean, the twins share a room. Rowan has his own room, and then we have our bedroom. And so when I got pregnant, oh girl, honestly, I was mad.
Yeah.
Oh, I was so mad at. I was mad at God too. I was like, no, this is not supposed to be happening. We don't have room. We can't afford another kid. Like, what in the what? I was like to the tears for days on end, mad. And I finally was to the point where I was like, okay, we need to tell my parents that we're going to have another baby, And so mom, it was one morning when she was over here, before the kids had to go to school, and I was getting ready for work, and, I was telling her, and of course I started crying out of,
Right.
and she's like, "Oh, honey, yeah, I was the same way when I was expecting you."
You're like, hold on, wait, what?
Yeah. She's like, "And look how you turned out." And like, it's gonna be just fine. It's okay. I was like, and then whenever we found out it was a girl, well, there was, God was slapping me in the face
Right.
with that, telling me to shut the heck up, like,
I
So
love it. And you have a really good relationship with your mom. Has it always been that way?
I think so. I mean, I've always been a mama's girl, and I think especially after Chris was killed, I clung to her, wanted to be there for her and dad, and literally always told them ever since, like, "You don't need to go to a nursing home. I'm going to take care of you. That's why I'm here."
Yes.
Like, that's why I came back home after college. I don't want to be far away. And I'm very thankful for her because she doesn't have to do what she does. But yeah, I'm definitely close with her. And I think it's always been that way, even through college and all my mistakes.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. We all go through nice little phases through life, don't we?
Unfortunately, let me tell you. But I guess they all lead us to where we're supposed to be.
Absolutely. Oh, I am a firm believer in that everything, and a lot of times too, and I've said this in previous podcasts, it's hard to see God's hand in things when you're swimming in it, but it's after the fact that you can look back and be like, he was all over that. And it's just that relying on faith and knowing that he's going to get us through this, that he is our anchor and he will never forsake us. Exactly. Yep. Like that Waymaker song just is everything. He is the Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, and he's going to get us through absolutely everything. Hey friends, would you do me a favor? Would you subscribe to the show by clicking that subscribe button wherever you're listening? It makes a huge difference for the Go and Tell podcast community. I would also love for you to share this show with a friend. I know some of you found this show because a friend recommended it to you, so thank you for listening and being here, for subscribing and sharing and showing all your love and support. Thank you. Music was created for the show by Matt Bowen, and I'm your host, Lauren Greci. Now let's rejoin the conversation. Okay, yes. So is there a time in your life where you felt like you needed to rely on God more than another time?
Oh gosh. Oh, all the time.
Yes.
I know that seems so cliche, but it's so true. I'm a big believer. I always see things, about what is it? Like, I feel like it's the opposite of me. I'm constantly thanking him all the time. Like, even for little things, like, I mean, even so much as if I look back and check on Cora in the car and I go too far off the road and I'm like, oh, thank you, Jesus,
Yes.
Like, I mean, even the little things, but there's something there. I've seen things out there that are like, remember to thank him in the good times and not just come to him when you're needing him, basically,
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm like, I have a tendency to do the opposite of that. I mean, I'm always thanking him for, like I said, even just little things, but even bigger things, like having a girl after 3 boys, and she's literally the best baby ever. But when for me, it's times where I'm stressed out or the unknowns. I have to remind myself to chill out, like it's gonna be okay, and don't get worked up over life. Yes. Really. And I mean, whether it's mom stuff or work stuff or life stuff here, trying to figure out that, whatever. So I'm trying to like work on that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No,
so.
I agree. I think that's too where, and I'll kind of talk on this, that, like when Clark was 3 months old, he had RSV and pneumonia, and we, went to the hospital, the ER, and the nurse that, like, as we checked in, she said, if you wouldn't have come tonight, he would have died in the night. And that brought me to my knees. Gave me, like, instilled this fear that I still battle with, of this fear of, what if he gets sick? What if we get sick? And COVID just made that right back up again, of that fear of the what ifs, like, could this happen to us? Could the worst happen?
Yeah.
And, but my husband and I both, we were like day 3 and he was just not doing better. And it was literally both of us in our own realms. We didn't even talk about this, but we both basically threw our hands up and were like, God, where are you? What the heck? Like, heal our child, make this better. Like, and it took both of us kind of breaking down and showing our weakness that, he answered our prayers, and, Clark is totally fine. He is such a tank, and, it's incredible. But yeah, sometimes when we are in those moments, we're like, where are you? And he's there. He is absolutely there.
Yeah.
Okay. So then let's talk about your marriage for a minute. So you and your husband, you've been married 9 years, you said. What was it like
coming up on 9 years? Yeah.
Coming up on 9 years. Okay. So then you were both, like you said, pretty young when you got married. So what was it like going from newlyweds to twin parents at the same time? I mean, within
that, we had the twin. Yeah. We were married in November, had them the next September. Yeah. It was rough. I'm not going to sugarcoat it at all. I mean, we got engaged really fast. It was kind of like we met, we knew we liked each other. We started dating. He proposed like literally 3 months in after dating. And then our engagement was really over a year long. But yeah, no, nothing can prepare you for getting married and then popping out 2 kids within your first year of marriage when you're trying to still figure each other out, because we didn't live together prior or nothing like that. Oh yeah, no, it was rough, but we figured it out and we kept going and kept pushing. And thankfully he's got a good relationship with God, and that definitely helps.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so if we didn't have that for neither one of us, we'd probably done. Yeah, but no, it was rough, but we're good now, thank goodness.
Yeah. So how were y'all able to like keep plowing and just moving forward? Did y'all pray together? Like what was the thing that, if a new mom is in the same stage that y'all were in, what would you tell her?
Honestly, praying together would have been more ideal. It was so rough that we weren't, and I think that was what made it rough. So I did a lot of praying and a lot of stressing. But yeah, you just got to give it to God and let him work it out the way it's meant to be, because he's got a plan, and it was probably honestly because we had kids too. I mean, we were going to fight to make it work because we didn't want our kids growing up in a broken household, which is nothing wrong with that. Some people do it beautifully and gracefully, but I did not want that for my kids. And yeah, we just kept going and it got better. I mean, don't get me wrong, it didn't get better like last week. It's been good for a long time now. I make it sound like finally in year 8 it was awesome. No, it's been great for a long time. But anyways, you just gotta keep it. It takes work. That thing where that love is not love is a verb. It's an action, and you have to act on it. Yes. And that comes in different ways. And if you're a young newlywed woman and you're struggling, invest in the 5 love languages, please.
Yes, that is a really good tip. Yes, for sure.
Please, it'll even help you understand what's going on, because that was me. I didn't get it, and I thought he was supposed to be the way I am, and he's not. Yeah.
So what is your love language? I'm curious.
I'm quality time. Okay. Probably at least 95% of me is quality time. The other 5% is acts of service, probably. Yeah. But yeah, definitely quality time.
I think every woman at some point, whenever they have children and they become a mother, I think the acts of service gets in there for sure, no matter where it is. But if you're exhausted and you see your husband cleaning up the kitchen, you're like, oh, thank you. Yes. You're like, that's amazing.
Yes. Yes, for sure.
Yeah, I love that. That is a really, really good book, and highly recommend that to anybody, regardless of what age you are. As soon as you're in a serious relationship with someone, married to, do that together and do the Bible study together and work your way through that. Okay, so this has been so much fun. I do want to end with the 3 questions I asked, but before I do that, you already said advice for a new couple, but what is advice that you would give someone who is experiencing kind of like, let's say, a dry season in their life with God, or they feel that God is not there, because you seem very wise. You do have a lot of insight, and you rely on God a lot. So what do you think would be the advice you would give to someone who is struggling or not sure, or in that in-between season?
Definitely. I would highly recommend always find the positives in everything. There's always something positive or something to be grateful for. May not seem that way because things are stressing you out, or money is tight, or whatever, or even if God forbid, a sick child or something, but there's always something to be grateful for.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important to even find those things, like I said, even in the small everyday things. I mean, literally everyday things. The other day I almost dropped my coffee cup, but I caught it. I was like, oh my gosh, because it was piping hot coffie,
Well,
I mean,
and that is every mom's, like, that is your fuel right there too.
Yeah. Like, I ain't got time to brew another pot of coffee, but I'm just like, I mean, I probably sounds silly, but there's always something to be grateful for.
Yes.
And also just let God do his thing, or ask him to show up in a very, in your face sign, because he'll do it. He'll do it. You just gotta be paying attention. Even praying to him or talking to him, I'm a big believer in that he knows our hearts. If we truly have a desire, he understands us and he knows us fully. And I mean, yes, it's good to voice those things to him. And like I said, always thank him. I always thank him for everything.
Yes.
That's so important to be grateful.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's how he told us to pray too, in our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Like, first we are to worship him and tell him, like, you are God, you are creator of everything, and you are, you are it, you are king. And then what's the second thing you do? Thank you for this day. Basically, you're thanking him, you're showing him gratitude. And that's, if Jesus said that's how we should pray, then that's how we should pray. We should respect him and show him his, give him thanks, and then we continue on. So yeah, good advice. Okay, so the 3 questions: what are you reading, what are you loving, and what's making you laugh? Let's start with, what are you reading?
What am I reading? This
if you have time to read.
Like this like first and second grade level books count.
Yes, I would count that.
I honestly don't read as much as I should.
Yeah.
I'll always start even like a devotional or even just whatever book, and listen, I like my sleep.
Yes.
And I get to it as soon as I can, which is probably not the best, but so I don't do a whole lot of reading other than informational stuff based on what I'm doing and what's going on in life.
Yeah.
What am I loving? Oh, I guess what I'm loving is getting to be creative. I mentioned my small business that I got going, so I get to be creative, and I've always been of creative, like I've always loved to create things, I guess. Not necessarily artsy. I don't like paint crazy stuff or anything like that, but I like to get that out, have a way to release that, and I found that through my little small business. And what was the third one?
What's making you laugh?
What's making me laugh? Does God count?
Yes. Yeah.
I'll share just a little tidbit. So Rainer, technically my oldest twin, he was diagnosed with ADHD this past school year. Mm-hmm. And so that's been a whole struggle bus, worrying, really putting the brakes on life and like, okay, God, like, what do I do? What? And it's just things of motherhood that you just never can prepare yourself for. And that might seem so minute to some people, and it is, but anyways, that's a whole nother podcast. Okay. Anyways, but so he's full of energy, like night and nothing a lot of time. Right. Mm-hmm. And we were at one of his doctor's appointments the other day for follow-up on his meds or something. And the nurse, bless her, we've had her before. And so she knows Rainer, and she recognized him, and she knew what was going on. And it came time to get his blood pressure, right? And you have to like relax during your blood pressure cuff, because otherwise it takes 10 minutes to read, right? Well, that's very hard for him to do, right? I mean, it's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. His medicine's gone and he's like ready to go. And she's like, okay, it's time to get the blood pressure. And I mean, she's like face to face with him. I mean, mask on and everything, but trying to hold his feet. He's on the exam table and like hold his feet with her bbody. And she's like, okay, you got to be still. And he's like kicking us like, no, you got to be still. And he says something, okay, well, you got to be quiet. And the next thing I hear him saying, she's like, you got to be quiet, Raina. He's like, inner peace. Inner peace. And she's like, no, you got to hush. He's like, inner peace. She's like, Rainer, shh. And I'm like, kudos to him though, because he was trying, and I was dying on, like, I'm like trying to hold my breath because I'm like trying to not make him look at me and be like, what? Because it was so funny. But I was like, you go, boy. It's a good reminder. Just sometimes you gotta tell yourself to chill out,
Yes, you gotta find that inner peace.
Oh my gosh. Don't we all, Rainer? Don't we all?
Oh my gosh. Deidra, I have loved this conversation with you. And I'm so glad that you were just willing and able and open and honest. And thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy day. I do want to share your jewelry. So if someone is interested in finding your little shop, where can we look?
So right now I'm only on Facebook. I have a Facebook group. It's called Shop on the Hill. I think it's actually Shop on the Hill group right now. So that's the only place I'm selling right now. But like I said, I started up a couple years ago and I've just come back to it with different things. And now I've been making earrings, and anyway, so I'm doing that now. But yeah, you can find me on Facebook or Instagram. Actually, I forget I'm on Instagram. Yes. This is how awful I am at marketing. Good grief. Yeah, I'm also on Instagram too.
Okay, perfect. Well, I will put both of those links in the show notes. But thank you so much, Deidra.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Go and Tell podcast with Lauren Greci. If you liked what you heard today, please subscribe, comment, leave a review, and share with your friends. Music was created for the show by Matt Bowen, and I'm your host, Lauren Greci. I'll be back here next week with another great conversation. Thanks for listening today, friends.